Hi folks, it's been a while since I've done an update, but I've had some time this summer to work on the layout on my Boston and Maine Lowell Nashua division layout here. So I thought I'd show you what I'm doing. I'm mostly landscaping work, and it's been coming along nicely. I'm going to show you something I worked on. It took me a little while to put together, couple tunnel portals. And then also some simple painting that has made a huge difference in the layout. So it's been a while since you've probably seen the entire layout here. So we'll start with that. And you'll notice there are kind of buildings on tracks, and there's paint supplies and tape and glue and alcohol every which way. But just to orient you here, here is the Lowell mill section. I've taken some of the mills out because I'm doing some work in that area. And then right over here we have the Lowell train station. And on the other side of that, you can see I've done quite a bit of work on the downtown section, added some more buildings, got the road in, got some striping, and also even have some little parking meters and a newsstand in place. So the downtown Lowell section's coming along. Let's see, we continue up overhead here. That is the Middlesex Street Bridge. That's Middlesex Street right there. It's actually not too far off representation, with the tracks going underneath and Middlesex continuing, and the jog out where there'll be a set of stairs coming down. And then up on the upper level here, this is Middlesex Junction, where the Rourke Bridge currently is in Lowell. There was a turntable, roundhouse, and a big passenger service yard right in that area for many years, up and through the 50s, and I think they finally ripped the yard up in the 70s. But I've rebuilt that. I haven't done a lot of work on this section. Still some work to go. Continuing around the layout, you'll see right over here is the North Chelmsford depot, which I scratch built from photos. It's pretty accurate representation. In the background you see a picture of the Tingsboro Bridge with the Merrimack River in the background. Way off in the future you see the holes in the wall where the layout will expand, but I'm telling you that's a few years away. Continuing down, so if you went north through those holes, you would go up to Nashua, Manchester, and Concord. Continuing down this leg of the Y, we come by the little Mills section on Middlesex Street, where Middlesex Street heads just before it gets up into Vinyl Square in North Chelmsford. And then we continue along on the Stony Brook branch, and we come around, and there's my mill building over by the Stony Brook Mill Pond. We've done quite a bit of work in this area. Still haven't put the water down yet, because I know I have more scenery work to do. We've got some company houses in here, and we put in this road. My grandson and I put in this nice road. He 3D printed that bridge for me, and this road's going to go up to, I believe it's going to go to the Fletcher Quarry gravel granite service. But the project that I worked on the last week, I would say, is you'll see how the track runs underneath, and there's this big opening, and that doesn't look very good. So I was pondering how to best dress it up. So first thing we did is using the Chooch, this is the Chooch flexible stone wall material, right? It comes in a sheet that's about this long. It's very flexible. Comes with its own adhesive, which I don't use. I use the Project Neil's cement. But basically I've kind of cut these in and shaped them, put some cement behind them, held them in place. I'll do a coat of gray primer, sometimes two, and then 2 washes India ink washes. And so it gives me a nice looking stone wall right there. This is a lower level leg to the Y, kind of a service track right now. And I needed something, and I don't have a whole lot of height here, right? If I'm looking at it, I have, what do I have? In scale feet, we have like 26, 27 scale feet. So I had to kind of play with that a bit. So I actually just sort of scratch built this simple little entrance on here. But that dressed it off nicely. And it's not the main line, that's sort of a service line. But we still had this big hole, which I had covered with a piece of black foam core. So what I did, using some chooch materials, is I built this very nice tunnel portal that slides in place. I can take it out if I need to. And I'm going to tell you, there's a couple of different things going on here. So this piece here, this is a chooch product. It was actually I think it's a hydrocal casting. The problem is, it said it was a 2-track. However, my track, I have a little extra space here coming around the curve, and so it wasn't wide enough. So what I had to do here is I had to cut the piece in half, and so roughly from about here to here, I filled in. So I took the stone casting, I cut it lengthwise before I cut it in half. I cut this top 2 levels off, set them aside. I have a small model bandsaw that works great for that. And then I cut it in half in the center. So it was, honestly, it was probably, the opening was only about this wide. So it was too short. So I needed to add about 1 inch in the center. I cut it in half. I actually lowered this just a little bit. The train's still clear plenty well. But I lowered a little bit so that it wouldn't be too high over my upper level. And then I just cut out some individual bricks from the leftover pieces, and then I fit them in place. Now, this all looks pretty smooth now. It didn't look that smooth at first. I used some Modeler's putty to fill in the holes, and then I used some paint. So then I glued it back together, and then I saved this top piece, glued it on at this height. It had a couple of extra blocks, so these 2 blocks were additional because the original length was roughly from here to there, where that black strip is. That's how wide the tunnel is. So you can see how much I added to it, a little over 1 inch. And I glued all this to a piece of gator board, black gator board. Great stuff to work with. It's looks like foam core, but it's more rugged. And then on the sides, I filled it in with some more of that chooch flexible material. Painted everything. I believe there's probably 2 coats of gray primer on it, and then 2 washes. And so I'm really happy with how that comes out, and I'm particularly happy that I can pick it up and move it. And you can see one of the things I make sure to do whenever I use this chooch flexible material, I always put a cap row on top, because otherwise you have the flat factory edges exposed. So I always put a little cap, which there would always be a cap on top of these. So it dresses off nicely, and as you can see, eventually I can get back here. I'll get this all landscaped. But I really also like the fact that if I have a problem, I can just lift this up and I can get into the tunnel. So that's one of the projects that I was particularly happy with. This is Middlesex Junction here. You can see this is the original tan paint that's been down, probably for 8 years or so as I've worked on this. And it really stands out. It's not really a natural color. I thought it would work, but I'm getting tired of it. So when I put the tunnel portal in, I said, let me paint it. And I had this brown, darker brown paint that is just a Home Depot paint. I think it's called Autumn Earth, something along those lines, just the house latex. And initially started, I just wanted to paint in this other area. And I said, I'm going to paint this area. Well, then I went over here and I decided I was going to paint the backside. I painted underneath this little future rock formation. And then when I lifted up, suddenly I noticed, hey, wait a minute. I've got all this real estate here. Maybe I'm not going to put a mountain here. Maybe I'm going to put a business or some more homes or something. So painting got me thinking a little more. And then I snuck over to the other side of the layout, and I had, I'm in the process right now of painting this back section. You can see there's the tannish paint I've been looking at for several years. The darker paint, if I cover all that tan with the darker paint, it's going to finish this up temporarily, but nicely. I think it'll look a little bit nicer than what I'm looking at. So that's what I'm up to right now. I'm going to do a little more painting, and I probably won't get this Middlesex Junction section done this evening, but I'll keep you posted. Okay, so you can see it's not easy getting in here. And then I have to be careful not to break anything. I got my paint here, and I'm thinking this will just give me a better temporary look. Eventually, this section up here that I'm painting right now, it's going to be an extension of the city. I have some tenement buildings, tenement backdrop buildings that I picked up from Model Tech Studios. I think they're 1.5 inches or 2 inches deep. I'll get those built up. Those will give me a nice background look. I'll have some sort of city road running through here. I also have a gas tank model that goes along with my Lowell Gas Company. This is where the Lowell Gas Company sits, so the mill buildings are here. I also have a Lowell Gas Company, Lowell tank that I'm going to pop up here, which was actually right on School Street in Lowell, right at School Street and Broadway. And it's long since been removed. Just within the last 2 years, they removed the gas house, which I made a model of that. That's on this layout, right just about where my elbow is right now. And they commemorated it with a little wall in that yellow brick, the powerhouse, it's called. So that was a really important section in the city of Lowell. I'm not sure it was in the 80s. I think must have been in the 80s. There was a fire on the School Street Bridge. And the School Street Bridge, which runs between the gas power plant and the big gas tanks where they stored all the gas they made, that bridge burnt down. It was a terrible fire. And then they eventually rebuilt the bridge, and they got rid of the gas tanks. They're out of there now. I'm also happy. You can probably notice that I have my septic pipe here, which has always been a thing I worry a little bit about if I ever have to service that. But now I'm happy to see that if I make sure I keep everything removable, I could always get up into this area. I could put a piece of thin paneling across here so as not to damage anything. I could always get in here and work it if I need to. Hopefully I don't. All right, this is coming along. That paint that I got, it's a Bear paint, October Leaves. That's the color, Bear October Leaves. Yeah, I was just looking at it tonight saying, I think I need a little change. The other thing I've been doing is I've been using the loose assy ground goop. I use that a lot. So wherever I have a natural earth formation, I'll often use that because it's easy to work with. It sets up nicely. You can put your foliage materials on top of it. And eventually I will get some sort of backdrop on these walls too, but haven't quite figured out what I want. I've looked, certainly looked. But I'm pretty happy with this. Okay, I'm going to jump down. I'm going to shut that camera off. I'm going to jump down and I'll finish that little section up, and then I put these buildings back in place. Okay, I'm going to climb back in there. I'm going to touch up some of those white spots over by the gas house, and then I'm going to put the buildings back in place. Oh, I ruined more shirts. This way. I just noticed a couple of spots. And most of this is covered, and eventually will be covered further, so I'm not too worried about it. You know, I come to realize I don't really like working with that hard plaster. Lots of people use it for roads. What is it? The filler. You all know this stuff. Stuff you use when you're sheetrocking to fill in the holes. Because I've noticed everywhere I put it in, it's developed some cracks and chips. And I suppose I could have started out by doing a little, maybe trying to mix some paint in with it, but it's still cracking. And this is even in solid areas. So other forms of, that's why I mentioned the loose assy ground goop. I've used Sculptamold, other things like that. I like the way they harden up better. I like the hold. This eventually will get some type of cover. I'm not entirely sure what yet. Actually, this is where the gas house goes, so it'll probably end up being pavement again. Now we're just going to leave that. Leave that like that for now. All right, let's see. That's all right. I'll set this paint aside over here. And what do we have? We have one of the mill buildings that actually has the track running through it or into it. This is to drop the coal off for this mill complex. And this is actually kind of patterned on an actual building at the corner of, what are the streets there? Over by Canal Street and Jackson Street. It's right on the corner of Jackson and another street. And if you walk up to it, you can see where they had the big wooden door. The tracks went in, and there was a big coal bin inside where the coal cars would drop off for the power. And then this is my other, let's see, mill building. This goes this way. Whoops, this sits right in here. Good. I need to put in a little foundation stone in here, and I will use some of that leftover, what is it? Chooch material that I had. I still have some of that. So those two sit in there, and then the little gas and light company sits right in here. First we'll set in the gasification tank. And then we'll fit in the Whoa. And that's going to be right up to there, right along there. It has a service track next to it where the coal cars actually deliver the coal. And we're working. So that's a little bit of what we've got done today. And clearly my track, there's a lot of curves in the tracks here because I had to fit everything in the space I'm working with. But this is roughly modeled on that area in Dutton Street in Lowell, where the tracks run along Dutton Street. This is in the School Street, Broadway area. There were a lot of sidings going in, cutting in between buildings, going into buildings. So it's loosely modeled on that area. Okay, I'll be back when I have more to show you.